word human, HUE+MEN, exists in a duality. Hue, the color you view when light enters then passes through a prism or reflects off of me or you. And man, the state of personhood a person would be ascribed regardless of gender, respectively. They see we. Objectively, they see a hue that they imagine imbued with more of prison than prism. And regretfully, they see no man. And it is that that gets to me, that gets beneath my skin, literally. That like prisons and like prisms lead to the differences and divisions that allow some to subtract lives. And in addition, where a friend might describe you as fit, others will only ever say that you fit the description. Conscript. They see convict, not a woman or man of conviction. They don't see linchpin, they see lynching. And forever wanna see your light confined and contrite in a prism, industrial, complex system. They never see the anointed you, just the lawyer appointed you. Only your flaws are ever pointed to, and even those are seen skewed through a funhouse mirror's point of view. casualties of ad hoc fallacies and distorted realities, because what they think they're seeing is not human, or at best just 3/5 of a human being, which only leads to dark assumptions. But to quote Ayodele Heath, I ain't never been 3/5 of nothing. We are fathers who tired of living on our knees. So with your foot on our necks, we still stood to our feet. Mothers, making sure their kids eat. Making a way out of no way. Making sure ends that have never been friends meet. Sisters, working at a Mickey D's and pursuing an undergraduate degree. Brothers, hustle, working a 9 to 5 and then a 10 to 3. We are this, and we are everything in between. They pretend that they can't see the we that we women and men still see. They pretend to only see minstrelsy and not a culture so rich that within our hieroglyphs still exist the keys to life's mysteries. They don't see lovers of music, of art, of words. All they see are people who have always been essential to the work, essential to picking up their cotton, their tobacco, their slack. All they see are hues, so all they see are blacks and Mike Browns and Freddie Grays. They're quick to gentrify you from your home, then tell you to stay in your place. And when we speak up, they use the lead to make us pipe down. Statistics say an unarmed person of color is being shot right now. What's clear is that when your wife meets you at the door in her robe, tears in her eyes as you're about to hit the road, and says, "Be careful, dear," it's because she knows you're being hunted, being stalked day and night. Ahmaud Arbery thought he was out for a jog, didn't know he was in a race for his life. Because in this life, they don't know what it feels like to grip the steering wheel with all your might when you see those blue lights ride up in your rear view. Because although you've done nothing wrong, you know they won't hear you and you might not ever be going home. That's why we try not to go off, because we know what's going on. We become dash cam, video, headline, poem. We become say her name, never again, hashtag, mourned. We're tired of being shot in the street, shot in our homes, shot in our sleep, shot on our lawns, shot by police, hands up, empty palms. We're tired of singing funeral songs and reciting funeral songs. We're tired, and we don't know how better to explain this to you. And to be honest, we're tired of trying to. Tired of trying to explain it through statistics, through ballistics, through HUE, through history, through injustice, both old and new. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Fannie Lou Hamer spoke the truth. We're tired of watching our elderly bury our youth. We're tired of feeling hopeless. Tired of Brian Kemp disenfranchising black voters. I'm tired because Oluwatoyin died while I wrote this. I'm tired because Rayshard Brooks died while I wrote this. I'm so tired I forgot to mention Breonna Taylor's name, and you're so tired you probably forgot to notice. Tired, but committed to the fight, come whatever. Because the same prism that was used to break the light apart can be reversed and used to bring the light back together. We are the light. Let's come back together. We are the light. We are in this fight together. We are the light. We're in this life together. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light. Welcome to the HUE+MEN
round of applause.
After Talk. Thank y'all so much for joining us.
Yeah.
It was our distinct pleasure to present this today, and welcome to the Talk Back. I am Jon Goode.
I'm Okorie Johnson. Okorie Johnson.
Dr. Fahamu Pecou.
My name is Marina Skye Williams, also known as Set by Sky.
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you to everybody who's still tuned in for your patience with the technical difficulties, but also for supporting this project and for watching along.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting maybe to kind of give you a little bit of background about how this project came into fruition and the people who were involved in bringing it kind of to you. I think this started about a month ago.
Maybe a little more.
A little more.
Right after Ahmaud Arbery's
Right
death.
after Ahmaud Arbery. It was on a conversation that you and I had about we needed to do something.
Yeah.
We were feeling it as people. We were feeling it as black men. And we needed to have an opportunity to say something. I think originally I reached out to you, and I wanted to have some imagery to a song that I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
But in that conversation, we realized that we didn't want to add to the trauma.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we wanted to do something that would feel more generative, something that would feel more hopeful, something that would feel more affirming.
Yeah. I guess, and so out of that conversation, you started brainstorming.
Yeah.
And I think you were kind of point on this one. You were definitely Magic Johnson on this team. And started bringing folks to the table.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think as we, collectively as artists in the city, we have this network, amongst one another, where we're all artists whose works complement each other in some form or fashion, right? And so it almost just felt natural, like it wasn't even, really was Magic Johnson on the no look pass, you know what I'm saying, to Jon Goode, and then, when we start thinking about this as more of a production, I couldn't figure out another way or a better way to do it than to bring in Set by Sky.
Yeah.
And so, then we brought in Massive and the Classic Film Studios team.
That's and then Technology, and then who made all that happen. So I think maybe it might be a reasonable thing to discuss the title and to see how that is connected to what we were trying to express in the piece. So since you were kind of the wordsmith on the entendre, can you talk with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, at the core of this project, and I think at the core of a lot of the argument, the frustration, the angst that a lot of people are feeling is really the acknowledgement that, by and large, people don't see black people's humanity. right? And in the erasure, in the dismissal, in the ignoring of that humanity, you get all of these atrocities against our bodies, right? You know, if you saw somebody, if you had a kind of human compassion for another person, you wouldn't do the type of things to them that get done to us, right? And I think so much of our culture, history, all of these things have contributed to this lack of humanity in the way that people see and experience black people.
And so in one of our earlier conversations, we started talking a little bit about this, about the lack of humanity in the gaze of the broader world, specifically for black people, especially for black men. And out of that conversation, the three of us started kicking around ideas and imagery that helped us to kind of frame what we wanted to put together. And I think you took the first stab, Jon, at kind of pulling it all together in a draft. And can you kind of talk with us a little bit about kind of the emotions and the ideas that were in that first draft of what you're trying to communicate?
Yeah, I think in the first draft, what I'm trying to do is, ironically touch on our humanity in so much as we're not monolithic. You know, we are a diverse and varied people. And there's this impression that the media often gives that in order for us to be truly to get justice, we have to be saints. We have to have done nothing wrong ever in our lives for us to, to be seen as people worthy of, defending and of justice. So in the poem, I wanted to paint us kind of with a broad stroke of who we are, and then say in this painting, see our humanity and understand that we're tired, so exhausted with this conversation of trying to convince you that we're human. Like, we've been human from the first. We've been human since you called us only 3/5 of a human being. We've been here, and we want to, step forward and exert ourselves even more, even more than Dr. King and Malcolm X. I mean, all these voices that have come before us, now our voices are just being amplified through tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And I wanted the piece to catch the tragedy, catch the triumph, and at the end, be a bit of a celebration of us as the light to go forward.
And definitely, like, to throw, a dish to, Okorie, I think, one of the things that we kind of talked about when we began conceiving of this project is the way that you approach your craft, your playing, your music as these meditations, as these prayers, right? And so there's this prayer that underscores this entire conversation. It's like the spiritual foundation for the entire piece, and you kind of came with a concept already for how you were going to, engage.
I think the idea of a prayer to begin this conversation, really a conversation between the three of us as black men, but in some ways a conversation, I don't want to say just with a white world, a white supremacist, racist world that is oppressing and destroying black bodies. That wasn't solely the focus of the conversation. In some ways, for me, this was a conversation with God. This was a prayer with God. This was, on the musical end, this was a frustration. This was a lamentation. This was a questioning. This was an assertion. And all of those emotions bounced back and forth off of each other. I think since I'm not necessarily contributing with words or particularly with imagery, for me it was really important for the music to have a frenetic, confused, thoughtful, prayerful energy, which I think is where so many of us are, right? I mean, I think we're definitely dealing with the trauma on repeat, on TV, on social media. But at the same time, for those of us who have relationships and families and investments and commitments, we have to find ways of being whole and productive and even spiritual. And so the music needed to have all of that for me, and some of those things don't seem to complement each other. So there's this kind of banging back and forth of those ideas. And what image that we kind of started talking about was the idea of like a fun house or a chamber, a prism, right? A chamber of mirrors, right? So you have both like this presence of light, this beautiful spiritual thing, but you have these mirrors, these obstacles that kind of bang the light around and create a kind of confusion. And it was your idea to have the music and the light and the imagery kind of boil to a fever pitch. And in some ways in my mind, I was imagining that the music, the light, the prayer was breaking the funhouse mirrors, and kind of the light was escaping. So that's kind of what was going on in my head as I was trying to build it, and I was trying to kind of match your movements, and I was trying to underscore your language, and trying to walk that fair line, that fine line between anguish, pain, hope, spirituality, aspiration. At least those are the things that were at play in my mind.
And I think in this time when people are marching in the streets and protesting, that the largest champion of black men is black women. The people who are, fighting the hardest, cheering the loudest, trying to support us the most, black women. And so I was so excited when I heard that Skye was going to be on the project, and I was like, oh, snap. We have, a black woman who is going to frame this for us and make it look like, something amazing. So I think how you brought Skye into the project. So I would wonder, how you got to that. And then, Skye, when you heard about it, what you thought and how, what gave you the imagery that created what folks have just seen.
Look, I'm going to just say this. This is on the record. Marina Skye is the Picasso of set design.
Picasso, set design. Maybe the Frida Kahlo too, or something like that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
all of that. All of that.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah, okay.
All of that. When we began to map this project out, we realized it was going to be a production, and we wanted to have the set. We wanted to have the staging to match the energy and the level of artistry of our performances. And I couldn't think of a better person than Skye, to be able to catch that vision. This is the alley-oop, you know what I mean? You got the dish, she got the alley-oop.
I put it up. Skye was up there 2 feet above the rim. Talk to us about how you slammed it down, Skye.
Oh gosh, all this pressure. So honestly, this was, when Fahamu came to me with this project, I internally had been struggling with how I felt like I could show support as a black woman, just period, and then as a black woman to black men, and then to other creatives who may be feeling this struggle of trying to figure out how to support. And so you came to me with this project, and it was literally it was perfect, the perfect timing. And so we had our initial walkthrough. You kind of explained to me what you guys wanted to interpret in this and come across in this piece. And honestly, your set was you. You are your set. So I knew that I didn't really have to do anything for your space because you were the movement part of this. But there was a lot of pressure. I put a lot of pressure on myself to figure out how to perfectly physically articulate what you guys were trying to come across, or what you guys were trying to express. And so for Okorie, your set was probably the most challenging for me because I'd never done it before, and it was a totally new experience. But when we talked about you wanting to represent almost the spirit of this, it made me think of the constellations, the stars, how far we can reach with that physically and, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, etc. And so I thought it would be interesting to showcase some type of cosmic something behind you. And then it ended up looking kind of like the Northern Lights. And so as the progression of this experience happened live, the movement of the lights behind you kind of gained in intensity as your words got more piercing, as your sound got more intense, as your movement got more vibrant. I tried to kind of associate that with the colors and the lights that we were showcasing behind you. So immediately I just thought of the stars when you said spiritual. For your set, Your set was a redo of a set that I did a couple of years ago that did not transfer. I don't think it had the right audience for it. But when I heard your words, it was like this set was meant for your piece. To showcase these dark shadows coming straight at you from every direction as you are standing there fearlessly with such strength, saying these words that mean so much to so many people. It just fit. It just fit. We're literally watching you almost get attacked on a constant basis from all directions, and you still prevail. So it just seemed like it was the perfect space to create that vibe. And even in your piece, the intensity of the hands gained as the intensity of your piece gained. So yeah, it was challenging, but it was also like, it was perfect timing. I needed that. And I also just wanted to be a woman on this set behind you guys. You guys are the stars of this piece. And I just wanted to be someone who helped you guys from the sidelines. So you guys could be the showcase, and I could just be a runner or the backbone behind it. Like, this is y'all, and
she's
black women are just here.
The wind beneath our wings.
You're the fourth beetle. Don't diminish your beetleness.
I like the image of the skeleton.
Yeah.
I think I like the idea of us putting flesh on the framework.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's interesting about that's interesting about building a team, I think, is that you have a tendency sometimes to like pull from people who see the world exactly the way that you do, or kind of entering the world exactly the way that you do. I really enjoy Fahamu's company. I enjoy his thoughts. I enjoy Jon's company and his thoughts. I don't know you as well, and I think it was important for there to be another voice to kind of push back against the ideas and to challenge us in some ways, and to ask us to kind of think about what we're saying and how it's landing on a perspective that may not be identical to ours. And I think that's kind of the work of processing this, right? I think one of the things I'm struck by is that this is sad stuff that we even have to make the piece, right?
Yeah, real talk. Yeah.
It's really sad stuff. And I think perhaps individually the three of us have had to travel to some spaces that are uncomfortable. But the process of coming together with you all and with Teknology and with Massive has been a joyful one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It has been a really joyful experience. And I think that's the strange, tragic but necessary irony of this work, that you can't do it in misery.
But you can't do it alone either.
You can't do it alone, yeah.
You know, and I think that becomes the most powerful expression of all of this together, right? You know, in these times, as turbulent as they are, it's very easy for people to feel isolated and alone. You know what I mean? And you know, this coming together, this bridging of voices, this bridging of ideas and creative expression reminds us all, again, like the piece says, that we are human. We are all the same thing, right? And collectively, we can do all kinds of amazing feats.
Yeah, I think, and for me, the rough part was when we began this poem, it was because of Ahmaud Arbery. And so much has happened since we began the poem that names and circumstances had to be added to the poem up until last week.
Like every rehearsal, it was like new names added.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was just so, that was heartbreaking for me. Like to be like, I cannot, ignore, Toyin being killed in Florida. You can't ignore Rashard Brooks being killed here in Atlanta. And these have to now be added into a poem that really begins with Ahmaud Arbery. It was something.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to hold y'all up, You know what I'm saying? And we got a little celebrating to do ourselves, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But thank everybody for tuning in. We will rebroadcast HUE+MEN. It'll be on our social channels.
Yeah.
And maybe we can do this live on stage when they open the theaters back up.
Should we do a roll call before we get out of here?
Yeah,
one time,
man, we got to bring in the crew.
Bring in the crew.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
there are a lot of people who probably should come on up here. I mean,
Yeah,
we got some people who are running technical stuff, but I don't feel like we can close without at least having some people show their faces at least and introduce themselves.
Iman, y'all come on in.
Come on in real quick. Come on, these are the folks that were behind it.
We couldn't have done it without you.
Who are you? What did you do?
My name is Teknology, and where am I on the screen? I don't even know if I'm on the screen. Okay, yeah. I'm Teknology. I press buttons. Yeah. All right. I'm the producer of the show. Thank y'all for being patient with us. We were getting everything situated on the stream. I love y'all. Peace and blessings.
Hi. Hello. My name is Iman, and I was the hand. So I was giving out, all that dramatic effects and all that. So yeah. Sorry about that.
Hey y'all, I'm Ash from Powerhouse Creative. I was behind the scenes, hitting switches, and that's pretty much taking all the BTS for everyone to share on their channels. Thank y'all for watching.
My name's Josh, and I was also.
You
see yourself? Go down.
Okay. My name is Josh, and I was also doing the hands while my uncle was doing the poem.
Yeah, nephew.
Yo, what's up, party people in the house? I'm Massive, the Victor. I was the lighting designer on this thing in the dimmer op, you know what I mean? And this is also Classic Film Studios. Bring yourself through here. And absolutely love to work with this dude. I just met this wonderful woman here. Amazing. Awesome. Big up, yo.
Thank everybody for tuning in. Oh, we got.
I was just gonna say, we would be remiss if we did not say thank you to Ramon. He's not.
Oh yeah, Ramon. Yeah.
Also, Classic Film Studios.
Yes, Classic Film Studios.
Amazing set designer, awesome guy. I think he deliberately decided to be around for this, but we just had to say thank you to him too.
And so I'm Okorie Johnson.
Yes.
On cello.
Fahamu Pecou.
Jon Goode. They want to know if they can get that poem? Oh, absolutely. It's on YouTube. You can get it. You can get it right there. It's on YouTube. They're streaming it right there. You can just watch it over and over again. There it is.
Oh, and I guess we should say OKCello, at OKCello for Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
At Fahamu Pecou, FAHAMUPECOU on the Instagrams.
Yeah, I'm Jon Jon_Goode GOODE on the gram.
All right, y'all.
I am Setby Skye, SETBY SKYE on everything.
Yep, Massive the Victor, and also Classic Film Studios, Inc.
All right.
Ungawa.
We good. Yeah. Thank y'all for joining us. Be safe and be sane. Keep fighting.